Lily Moo, an Iranian human rights activist, destroys the Islamic Republic regime.
Absolutely, because the first and biggest enemy of the Islamic Republic and their ideology that they're spreading throughout the Middle East and the rest of the world is a free living woman.
Elaaheh Jamali, also known as Lily Moo, is an Iranian human rights activist who recently visited Israel to bear witness to the atrocities that happened on October 7th. The mission of her trip was to fight against rape as a weapon of war and weaponization of women against themselves. Lily came alongside many other Middle Eastern women to tell the world exactly what is happening here. This was not her first time in Israel. In fact, she came previously with a delegation from Iran fighting against the Islamic Republic. But this time, she shares her true story, the truth about the Islamic Republic, and the reasons that we have the war we have and how we must solve it. Take a listen.
The thing is, what I'm fighting for right now, I'm fighting against, it's not a new fight to me. The brutalities and the atrocities that I've witnessed take place here is nothing new to me. I've already been exposed to this level of wild, demon, inhumane form of treatment of people, of my people in Iran at the hands of the Islamic Republic, yes.
For Lily, she described how this isn't the first time she's fighting this fight against all of the brutalities and atrocities that she has witnessed personally. Here, specifically in the interview, she isn't referring exactly to what happened on October 7th, even though she did come to Israel to bear witness to those atrocities. She's referring to something else. She's referring to her home. Listen to her closely. She uses the word wild, inhumane, and demon form of treatment, referring to how her own people have been treated back at home in Iran at the hands of the Islamic Republic regime. Go back and look through any Instagram reel, TikTok video, Facebook post, tweet, media coverage, or anything on the news condemning what happened in Israel on October 7th, and they describe it as an atrocity, as a massacre, wild, inhumane, and demon-like. You know, it's very interesting to me that when you look at what happened on October 7th in Israel and how that has been described as wild, inhumane, and demon-like, it mirrors the same description Lily describes as she talks about what she has witnessed back at home in Iran. Coincidence? I think not.
In November of 2019, the Islamic Republic took it upon itself to rape, mutilate, and murder men, women, and children in the streets of Iran, and then dumping their bodies into the gutter.
What? Are you going to act like what Lily's talking about here has not set the stage for this entire regime that has gone on for so many years? You might think that what she's talking about right now isn't directly related to Israel, what happened on October 7th, or this war and situation that we have today. But it 100% is. And here's the thing. Whenever somebody does choose to come out against this regime and they begin telling the history of how it all started, people tune out like it is completely irrelevant. And this is where people mess up. This is where people skip incredibly important details. This is where people are not willing to bear witness to the truth. The facts and evidence are right here. And now you are going to buckle up and listen. In November 2019, the Iran Atrocities Tribunal investigating gross rights violations charged 160 officials with, quote, crimes against humanity. During nationwide protests, heads of the executive and judiciary branches of the government, ministers, commanders from the Revolutionary Guard, and even police officers are all on those lists of those who committed those crimes. You might ask yourself, what did those crimes include? The tribunal heard testimonies from 219 witnesses and examined evidence from 440 people related to crimes such as killings, executions, rape, and harassment. Sounds like we're back to another guessing game of what does that sound like to you? Killings, executions, rape, and harassment. Innocent civilians were slaughtered and mutilated on October 7th in Israel. Women were raped on October 7th in Israel. Family members were brutally executed, some beheaded and burned, all in the name of this regime. So is it starting to click now, or do you need more proof?
There was an international tribunal held for this in London on the 31st of September of 2022. During this time, Raisi, the deceased, was in the UN in New York, and he was the #1 perpetrator of all of those atrocities that were being named and recognized internationally by an international body was still given diplomatic visa and impunity to go on a trip into the UN after killing Mahsa Amini.
I'm sure all of you remember this helicopter crash just a couple of weeks ago.
Iran state media is reporting that the nation's president and foreign minister have died in a helicopter crash.
Have you ever asked yourself why so many people in Iran celebrated this? No, it was not just Jewish people who were happy about the death of the butcher of Iran.
جشن گرفتن مردم به مناسبت سقوط رئیسی
این مردن رئیس جمهور فقید کشورمون رو تبریک میگم به کل مردم ایران. امیدوارم که باقیه‌شون هم
Wait. I know exactly how this works. So many people are gonna call this propaganda. So you know what? I'll stop talking. Is this propaganda?
You mentioned the President Raisi and his death.
The butcher.
The butcher in
you.
this incident, the helicopter incident with the Iranian officials.
The glorious incident, the joyous incident.
Tell me the truth, Lily. The people of Iran, are they happy after the death of Raisi or they are sad?
I was just rejoiced with new hope for Iran, because this shadow of death is now lifted.
His name wasn't the butcher of Iran because it sounds cool and has a nice ring to it. His name was the butcher of Iran because he was the brains behind the entire operation of the Islamic Republic committing these god-awful crimes against humanity. Murders, killings, executions, rapes, harassment. No country, no group of people, no sane society would ever want a human being who utterly dismantles every aspect of humanity, not only just as their leader, but alive. And that is why it was celebrated, not just by Jews and Israelis, but by people in Iran themselves. Justifiably so.
There are people denying the atrocities of October 7th. There are people who are not willing to look for all the clues that are in front of them. There are people who have continuously ignored the plea of Iranians and the fact that all of these atrocities have been out there, reported into the international media, fallen on deaf ears or indifferent lobbyists for the Islamic Republic.
This is the difference between both sides of this conflict. This is the difference between the truth seekers and the deniers. This is the differentiating factor of how we could, as a collective society, come together and weed out all of the bad and the evil. Or instead, remain blind to the blatant truth that is screaming in front of your pupils. How about this? Stop listening to me. I'm an Israeli and I'm a Jew. And the truth is, the majority of every single person that is ignoring the truth right in front of them would never entertain a conversation with me in 100 years. Cool. No problem. But how about listening to someone else who is not a Jew, who is not an Israeli, but is telling you the same exact thing that I am from the personal perspective as a Muslim? How can you ignore that? How can you disregard that? How can you listen to Lily's testimony and then just suddenly say that it's false propaganda when all she is doing is talking about the truth you are not willing to face? Oh, and how about this? For every single person that thinks I'm an IDF representative, I work for Israel, or I'm a government spokesperson, because I know so many of you exist, I will shut up for now.
You still have relatives in Iran?
A lot of relatives in Iran. All of them are at risk of death because of what I do. That's the tyranny we are facing.
Lily isn't safe. Her family isn't safe. Her decision to be brave and tell the rest of the world that the problem that we are facing is a result of the Islamic Republic does not serve any interest aside from telling the truth and nothing but the truth. Why? To make the world a better place. And so I still don't understand. What is there for you not to understand?
For 365 days, Iranians across the diaspora and inside of Iran, including myself, out in Europe, we warned the international community about the atrocities that are yet to fall upon Israel at the hands of the Islamic Republic if we do not stop them now.
For all of those freedom fighters saying that if Israel didn't exist, there wouldn't be any issues, please just stop talking and get educated. For those claiming that Israel occupies Palestinians, that it is running an open-air prison, and that it is an apartheid state, please stop talking and get educated. For those who blame Jews and Zionism for the war in the Middle East, please open your eyes and kindly close your mouths. Your premature decisions to just quickly blame Jews and Israelis and the blue and white flag for all of the problems that we have seen have zero justification and grounds for any of your arguments about this war. The Islamic Republic regime manipulates every single piece on this chessboard, and at the same time takes each pawn, all of you, and plays their game, because all of you have just fallen victim to their scheme. And every single time that the Islamic Republic feels pressured or cornered, they attack. They attack Iranians and the citizens of Iran. They rape and mutilate their people within their own society, and they cause havoc from within. And then what happens? They have divide within its own borders, and what do? They leverage all of that divide to claim that now they have two different groups fighting against one another. And they must be fighting against one another because they are trying to separate Iran from within, to commit crimes against humanity. What is there not to understand?
So how you explain all the, the hate and all the what we see?
Propaganda. The very propaganda that you are witnessing against your country right now in the international scene, that very propaganda is the thing that brought in Khomeini and the Islamic Republic that we are seeing right now. Khomeini and its existence, the entire existence of the Islamic Republic was to come use Iran to destroy Israel and keep the Arab nations in the Middle East in their least progressive way or in the most destructive way.
Thank you. For goodness sake, thank you, Lily. Every single person breathing air on planet Earth needs to hear this right now. Why is there so much divide? Why is there so much hate? Why is there so much violence? Why is there so much terror? Why is there so much evil? Why is there so much of a desire to destroy and not coexist? One word: propaganda. Information that is biased and misleading in nature, used to promote different things in the world with a political agenda. Why do you think I fight this fight so hard? Why do you think that I choose to throw on this invisible army uniform and fight this propaganda war? Because propaganda is the reason the state of Israel and Jews across the world are losing and in incredible amounts of danger. Lily mentioned this man's name a few times, Ruhollah Khomeini. Khomeini served as the supreme leader of Iran from 1979 until his death 10 years later in 1989. He founded the Islamic Republic of Iran. He was the main leader of the Iranian Revolution. His mission in the entire existence of his revolution was to come and use Iran to destroy Israel, and at the same time keep all of the Arab nations in the Middle East as most destructive and most powerful as possible.
Absolutely, because the first and biggest enemy of the Islamic Republic and their ideology that they're spreading throughout the Middle East and the rest of the world is a free living woman, is a woman existing in her own presence, in her own choice. Mm-hmm. They don't know what her choices are, so they would decide to kill her. They killed Muslim women on October 7th too. Nobody's talking about them.
Muslim men killed Muslim women on October 7th. Muslim men kill Muslim women in Iran. And somehow, some way, well, we all know how really, with vast amounts of anti-Semitism and propaganda in the world, these members of the Islamic Republic are cheered on by wannabe freedom fighters. And when it comes to this, I honestly have no words, because this is one of the saddest realities of the situation that we are facing. Fellow Americans, some of which, who I know myself, are waving the flags of groups of people that would take any opportunity to take my dead body and throw it into a dump right now and light it on fire. And really, there's only one way that those Americans have made the commitment to raise that flag and wave it around. It's called propaganda.
While the TikTokers in the West are giving up all of their liberties, thinking they're fighting freedom, I wish they would give themselves a moment just to listen to one of the kids from Iran. I do this for them too. It's not, I'm doing this because West is next. Unless we do something about it, the West is next.
Hey, freedom fighters in America, yes, I am talking to you. And I'm American myself, so you better listen closely. Put your flags down. Put your signs down. Take your masks off. Stop shouting things that you don't even understand. Stop encouraging and inciting violence against people that haven't done a thing to you. You claim that you want peace and justice and freedom, yet all that you have stirred up and encouraged is violence, oppression, and destruction. Take a moment and listen to someone from Iran. You know what? Take a moment and listen to somebody who is going to share with you the truth.
It's propaganda on top of propaganda on top of propaganda. And where you are fighting a war of propaganda with truth, and people are sitting in every single TV station saying, oh, Israel is losing the PR war. Oh, Israel is losing the propaganda war. Please, by all means, you do not need to win propaganda. You will rise with truth and only truth.
I have personally gone back to many of my YouTube and Instagram videos and other pieces of content that I've put out since the beginning of this war, where I have talked about how Israel is completely losing the propaganda war. And there are countless times on record where I have called out Israel for not being good at sharing the truth. And that what I do is a harder fight to fight because from the jump, I'm already an underdog. When it comes to fighting the media and false propaganda, I myself have a harder fight to fight than someone on the other side. This is a fact. But after I saw this interview for the first time yesterday, something clicked in my head during this moment when Lily spoke. This all sounds sweet and cliche. However, there is no other answer as to how we will win and how we will prevail. And after Lily's firm determination that we will win with the truth, it led me to having a complete shift in my mind about how we are not actually losing this propaganda war. Every time false propaganda, false information is put out into the world, sure, it leads others to believe it for maybe a time being, but it only gives us more material to have to shed light and truth on. Think about it like this. Every single time that somebody shares false propaganda into the world, they are only sharing our story even more. They are creating more truth for us to have to tell. And initially that sounds like a bad thing. It is not a bad thing because it's not just me, Jewish people and Israelis who are sharing the truth. But in this case, Lily, an Iranian woman who has chosen to speak up. And all of this truth coming from so many different places and different angles and walks of life will lead to one day the truth cracking through. After hearing Lily say this, I'm seeing things through a completely different lens now. I have a stronger sense of determination and motivation to put more truth out there, to go harder, to put more into my work, and take more pride in knowing that what I am doing is the exact opposite of propaganda. I see how much pride Lily has in her courage to being honest and speaking the truth. And since then, I've been able to channel more of that now in myself. To all of the truth seekers and truth tellers, keep on seeking and keep on telling. Lily is just one of many truth tellers that we have no choice but to keep on amplifying her message. On your way out, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you're a fan or a supporter and you believe in us and what we are doing, your help is needed. These videos are not fully monetized, and so you can help by joining our Patreon or donating to places like PayPal or Buy Me a Coffee. Our Discord community is free to join, and I would love to see you there. Your support is what keeps these projects going. So all of the links are in the description for you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Seriously, it means the world to me. Thank you, and I'll see you next video.